All right, today we're going to talk about complacency and why it's terrible and how to realize when you're getting complacent and what to do about it, all right? So, story time. When I started deciding that I wanted to become better, a better soccer player, have a better physique, just become a better person in general, become someone that's disciplined, be accountable for myself, can take criticism, can learn, all this stuff, right? So I decided to do that and really got to work in 2020. And I always had this goal in mind of having a successful college soccer career. That was kind of the end all be all for me at that certain time, right? That was the big goal that I was chasing, right? And obviously having a good physique and stuff like that, that was also another big goal, right? So that first got achieved. And I've never really gotten complacent on that. I would say I've always kept lifting, kept working out. I mean, I've had times where I haven't ate great during periods, but I've never really lost my physique since I've really built it, the current one that I have right now. So, but we're going to get into soccer and when I got complacent. So, I start getting better at soccer, right? Get more opportunities, get to play in the USL2, which is something that in high school I thought never would have happened. Didn't even know what the league was. Didn't even know that there were levels that were that high, right? And so I get on a USL2 team in 2021. Then I finally get back to college, and we don't have a good season. I get hurt, which I've talked about, broke my ankle. So that just fired me up even more to come back, and because I knew I had one season left, and to come back and do everything that I wanted to do, right? So I always wanted in college to win a conference championship. So mainly the conference tournament, but I always wanted to win the conference tournament at home, hosting the tournament. So that means you have to win the regular season conference too, right? So have to do both of those. I always wanted to be a starter, which I did. Wasn't my first 2 years, but I became one in 2021. And I also wanted to be a captain, which happened. I became captain in the 2022 season this past fall. So going back to 2021, I break my ankle, right? So I'm starting that year, break my ankle. We don't have a good season. We don't even make the conference tournament, right? It's probably one of our worst seasons, and it's our worst season in 10 years because we hadn't missed the conference tournament in 10 years, right? So that just fired me up even more, especially this injury coming back from it, not making the conference tournament, and those few months where I was really hurt and I couldn't walk for 5 weeks. I was in a boot for 2 months. I let myself go. There was a period where I couldn't even work out. My diet was bad because I was just kind of depressed-ish. I mean, not depressed, but I just found comfort, right? Because my life kind of sucked then, right? So I went for comfort, and comfort it's the killer of man. It is. So I went for comfort, right? But I got healthy, and then, I just went back to the grind. I went even harder than before, right? So I was super strict about everything. Last summer, 2022, played on another USL2 team. Literally, the summer was train, lift, eat healthy, sleep, drive Uber Eats. That's about it. Literally just grind the entire summer, right? No vacation, not hanging out with my friends that much. Literally just work, train, lift, eat healthy, sleep good. That's it, right? And that just got me so ready for this fall season, right? So I was in insane shape. I was shredded to a T, absolutely ready to go, right? So our 2022 season happens this past year. One more thing I forgot to mention, another goal of mine in college was to make an all-conference team. So if you guys play sports, high school sports and college sports, if you're in a conference, like we were in a conference in high school, the ECC, and then in college I was in the Midwest Conference, which is the MWC. They have all-conference teams every season that the coaches vote for the best players in the conference, and they put them on either maybe there's 3 conference teams. Our conference only has 2 teams, and it only has 11 players per team. So it's hard to make one. In high school, our first and second teams probably had 22 each, and then there was an honorable mention one also with 10 extra players. So there's a bunch of players. But in my conference in college, we have 9 conference teams, and there's only 22 spots for all conference first and the all-conference second team, so there's not much. Basically, 2 players at every position, pretty much, right? So, big goal of mine was to also make that, right? So, we play the 2022 season. We win our conference tournament. First we win conference. Then we won our conference tournament the next week. And after that, we went to the NCAA tournament. The day before the NCAA tournament, the all-conference teams were released. I was on the second team, so goal hit, conference tournament won at home, conference championship won. So 3 main goals that I set were all hit, right? The next goal was make it past the first round of the NCAA tournament, which our team, my college, has never done in its history of the program in like 50 years. We've been to the NCAA tournament like I think 8 times. This was the 8th time we've been. So we haven't been that many times, right? So the goal is get past the first round. We lost in the first round though, right? Career's over. College career's over. Those goals were accomplished. Career's over, right? So what happens? I have about 6 weeks until I graduate. I graduated in December of 2022. So I have about 6 weeks, right? And that was the most complacent I've been since I started my grind in 2020. I was so complacent. And what happened after those 6 weeks? I wasn't happy. I was pissed. I was like, what have you been doing? You've been wasting your time the past 6 weeks. After the season ended, I didn't touch a ball until I got home pretty much. I played in a couple like intramural games, but didn't touch a ball. I was lifting, but that's the only thing I was doing good that was good. I was lifting. I was pretty much lifting still like every day, 6 days a week, because I honestly just love it, right? I love lifting. So I didn't stop lifting, but I was drinking a lot just with my friends because we were like, dude, like, it was the championship hangover. That's what it was, I think. It is what it was. It's the championship hangover. Every time we would decide to drink, the excuse would be like, for me, I made the excuse of like, hey, we won conference. Like, dude, like, I only have a few more weeks here. Like, we just won conference. Like, we're the shit, you know? So that would be the excuse, right? Drinking a lot. And normally when drinking starts, like, the eating doesn't go great because you get those late night, late night meals of dog shit McDonald's or like Taco Bell or whatever. And in general, I just wasn't eating great and didn't care as much, right? And then, I think the first week or two after the season ended, like, obviously we were sad because we didn't make it past the first round of the national tournament, but I was still, like, super excited because we won conference and, like, made all conference team, did all this stuff, right? So I was still really excited, but it started to wear off. Like, the happiness and the excitement of it started to wear off because I was using it as an excuse to kind of just be like a degenerate for like 6 weeks or like 2 months. Like, I was using that as an excuse. And in the time, I didn't really realize it because honestly, I haven't had one of these like complacent periods since I even like learned about that being complacent is bad, right? Like in 2020 when I kind of woke up and learned about a bunch of new stuff that makes life actually important, not the superficial bullshit. So I really hadn't had a long period where I was complacent. And when I finally left school and I got home, I kind of reflected and I was like, wow, like the last month, like, yeah, it's been fun kind of, but I haven't been doing anything really productive. I've just been kind of doing bad habits and stuff that's like destructive, like drinking multiple times a week, just wasting my time and not training, not really like setting any goals or anything. I hadn't kind of really not set goals yet because I had accomplished my goals. I think that was a big thing too. Like, I had accomplished the goals that I was working at for years, and then they happened, and then I was like, okay, what's next? But I didn't really think about that what's the next part, right, for a few months, right? So then I just kind of got in this like la complacency land where I was just kind of doing all instant gratification stuff. And so now obviously it's May. I've been home for 5 months. I've honestly just been working, training, lifting, just grinding, right? We're grinding YouTube now. We're trying to make videos every day, making a bunch of content, all that stuff, right? So I've really gotten back into the swing of things. I've been eating really healthy for the most part. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in months, and I'm pretty much quitting drinking. I've had 2 or 3 times this year where I've drank, and one of those weekends was when I was up at school for our banquet that I went up for the weekend just to come back. But so I think the lesson that I learned, and I wanted to share with you guys because I think this is going to happen to you guys once you really once you get on your grind and you set these goals and you're going to achieve them because you're going to work harder than everybody else. You're going to achieve these goals. take time after they happen to obviously enjoy them, but it can't be more than like a few days or a week. Like, honestly, I think that was where I messed up. I just kind of let it go on for too long, but then the enjoyment of the instant gratification stuff just went away because I was just doing it a lot. Like, we were drinking like 3 times a week because we were just like, all right, it's Monday night, let's play some die in our room, why not, you know? Or it's Thursday night, whatever, you know? Let's just drink and have some fun. So I think obviously I learned to celebrate stuff. Of course, you should celebrate your big wins and big goals, but immediately, like, you got to move on to the next thing. Like, as masculine men, this is what I've learned a lot, like, recently, probably the past 6 months or a year. Like, as masculine men, like, you're never going to be satisfied, really. Like, I've learned that in my own life. Like, you're really never going to be satisfied. Like, you're going to accomplish your goals, and it's going to be awesome. Like, winning that whole weekend of us winning the conference tournament was, like, this best weekend of my life so far. But it wears off quickly. It wears off. It's like, okay, it happened, it was awesome, but what's next? You know, it's like, what's next? That's what I always think about. I think a lot of guys like me are in a similar situation. You're going to achieve something, but then you're going to be like, all right, what's the next goal? What's the next thing to do? What's the next mission, or what's the next part of the mission, or whatever, right? So keep that in the back of your mind, that the next time you do, or are coming up on the next time you achieve a goal, or you're coming up close to achieving a goal, have the next thing, like, in your mind, like, ready, and be like, okay, once this happens, we're moving on to the next thing, whatever that is, right? So now for me, like, my goals have shifted. We're obviously, like, trying to become successful, starting a business, having a great physique. Soccer's still in there somewhat, obviously. It definitely was more of a big priority a few years ago. It's kind of fallen off because, honestly, I want to start trying to make money. I care more about that than trying to be a professional soccer player now, just looking at the long-term kind of benefits from it. And so, but I think having that next goal in mind is just going to help you guys to not get complacent, because you're going to achieve something, celebrate it for a week, whatever. After that, move on, right? So that's where I messed up. And yeah, again, I'm open, I'm honest on this channel because, hey, this is my channel and I talk about what I want to talk about. I'm not going to be lying to you guys about how I'm the best person in the world, because I'm not. I'm going to make mistakes every day, you know? And I made a mistake. I've made a big mistake here. I made a mistake, failed, learned a lesson, because the best lessons come from failure, right? So now I can take myself out of the moment. Since it happened a few months ago, I can look back and be like, yeah, okay, if this does happen again, it will happen again for another goal. I need to have the next thing ready to go. So whatever that is, right? You need to have the next thing, keep chasing the next thing, and keep going and going and going. So not getting complacent. That's just the main thing. So complacency, it's a killer. It will happen to you guys. You'll get thoughts to be complacent. But every day, you just got to go out and just keep grinding. And when you're doing whatever you're doing, you got to make sure you're not getting complacent in that. So if you're going to the gym and you're working out every day, you got to make sure your lifts are on point. You know, you got to be locked in. You can't be just going through the motions. Cannot be doing that, all right? So we're going to wrap that up. Don't get complacent. I can't speak English. And if you haven't worked out today, go work out. See you tomorrow.